Hi, I'm Michael Jordan with the Underground Meadery. Thanks for joining us again. We're going to be making this time an orange cocoa. This is an orange cocoa mead. We're going to be using some oranges I've already got diced up, some lemons, some Nestle cocoa mix for hot chocolate, AB friendly wild clover honey. I'm going to use crystal gallon water from the dollar store. The yeast that I'm using is the Red Star Champagne, and just the balloon for the airlock. I've already got my water started in the coffee pot. We're doing the coffee pot mead style, where I use all my meads are basically done on a 1 gallon basis in smaller levels. That way the cost effectiveness is better for the quality of the mix. So I've already dumped my water in my pitcher, and basically this is going to be my fermentation device. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the honey. So I've got 1.5 pounds of, or 2.5 pounds of honey here. So we'll just go ahead and we'll start by dumping them in and getting them going. I have most of all this already prepped out, or I usually have my glove on when I'm cutting and everything. Sanitation is pretty key unless you're doing open fermentation. This one right here, I'm pretty good to go. I have everything already pre-measured and stuff for this brew. As before, we're going to be adding the honey and then using the hot water to clean the jars to get as much sugar out as we can. And we're going to be adding the adjuncts, which happens to be the orange and lemon, just like we did for the summertime shanty. And then we're going to go ahead and add the chocolate mix at the end for the fermentation. And it's just basically for the back taste and the color. Right? It doesn't give out a huge chocolate taste to it. A lot of that's dissolved during the fermentation process, but we are going to be using some of the sugar content with it. Good fresh honey. So this honey here is a wild clover honey from Wyoming, from AB Friendly Company. It sells for about $8 a pound. The oranges and lemons, you know, about $1 a piece. So I've got $10 in adjuncts. The chocolate, I got the Nestle chocolate cocoa packages. I got those. I bought, I think, a box of them for $5, and I pulled 3 packages out. So I'm about, I'm around about $12 just in material with the gallon jug of water. So we're still doing things on a pretty low end. Most of the mixes of meads we're doing are under $15, and it roughly gets you 4 wine bottles of mead from one of these. So we'll go ahead and peel that off. Now why I'm waiting for a little bit of the water to finish, since I went ahead and I already did the oranges and lemons, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put those in already, and we're going to get those in there. We do the shake. It's okay to have the seeds, the rinds. Like I said, as fermentation goes, we want the yeast to eat them and use as much sugar out of them as we can. And we can always screen and filter everything off if we want a clearer mead as we go. Right now, as you can see, we're using, like I said, the clover honey. So everything has been very light in color, not very dark. I'm right now adding 1/3 of an orange and 1/3 of a lemon. It's the same mix that we use for the summertime shanty mix that we are doing. So we're basically adding this, and then we're going to add the cocoa to it. I add the cocoa last because I don't like the clumps. So it sounds like the coffee pot's done. Let's go ahead and hit some hot water in here. We'll get this one shook up. Oops. Get that little honey down there at the bottom done. There we go. Now the honey in this one started to glycerize a little bit, meaning the sugar and the water content just kind of got mixed out. So we're going to get as much hot water in there as we can, and then I'm going to use a spatula to get down in there to mix it all up here. The smaller jars, you know, it's hard to get anything in them or spoons or anything. I want you to remember, right, that everything that goes in here gets filtered out. So, as you do more and more of this, some of the adjuncts you leave in, some of the meads that I make have seeds that we leave in them, or we leave some of the cherries in them because it leaves such a bold flavor when you taste them. So, you know, that's another good reason to not really worry about what's in there, unless you're looking for something really clear and stuff and coloration. And those are different things in more advanced mead making. Well, we're just trying to get all the sugar out as much as we can. Just glycerin sugar there. Alright. So now we basically have 2.5 pounds of honey. We have our lemons and oranges in. 1/3. The orange is about the size of a baseball. The lemon's about half that size, larger than, about the size of a good goose egg. I'm getting 1/3 of them, I'm putting them in there, and that's for the citrus content and to feed the yeast that we put in. When this is all done and over 24 hours of setting, that's when we usually take a temperature reading, a hydrometer reading, and we go ahead and dump the yeast. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add just another section of hot water to this because we're going to dissolve the chocolate. And since we're using a cocoa, right, we want as much hot water as we can possibly get to make sure it's all completely dissolved and not chunky, right? So that's a pretty big thing about it. So we'll go ahead and we'll fill this up again. Like I said, this is just a 3-cup coffee pot that I'm using. You know, you can use bigger ones. I just like it because I can control how much water I'm using. A lot of the water I can use again. And that's one of the key things about it is that I get some really exotic water sometime. And I try to save as much as I can. I truck some in from my retreat. It's a natural spring water. I bring in Himalayan water. We get Fiji water in bulk. So we try to get some stuff that has a lot of different mineral contents. And water has a lot to do with how the mead's made. Believe it or not. Don't get water from your tap. Get something that's easy to use. And this method of how we're using it right now, nothing's gone in there that isn't sanitary, right? Everything just came, everything came out of the jars, right? So everything's been pretty sanitary is what we're going through. We're getting ready to add a little more hot water here to dissolve this, and then we're going to add the chocolate. So don't be scared of messing up because these are small batches. So we're going to go ahead and dissolve the honey with the hot water we have in here already. Save us a little time at the end, and because we don't have a lot of room. And just make sure you get as much of the honey dissolved as possible. Right, when it sits at the bottom, you get a good big yeast cake at the bottom, and it takes longer for fermentation. All right, so even as I go, sometimes I pour some of this out, warm it up, run it back through, right? Heat it up. It doesn't kill the yeast as long as I keep it in the temperatures, right? And as long as I'm keeping the dissolving. I rack them 3 or 4 times for clarity. There's a lot of things you can do with mead. This